This is what footage on a $150 webcam looks like. But for just an extra 50 bucks, you can get this. Sorta. Let's talk about it. This is the YoloCam S3, a 4K webcam from YoloLiv, or YoloLiv. YoloLiv? Anyway, it's a webcam that does away with a lot of the standard stuff you'd see on other products in this category to instead focus on doing one thing right, giving you an amazing image by packing a big old sensor inside its tiny metal body. But some of the concessions it makes in other places might make this one you want to skip in spite of how good it looks. So in this video, I'm going to go over the specs and features before diving into the YoloLiv Compose app to show you what it's like, as well as give you some tips and tricks on how to get the best possible image quality out of this thing. As always, there are timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead. But first, I believe I have a question from someone in the audience. Brad, what do you want to know about—
What's in the box?
Well, all right then. So we open up the box to find a smaller box, which opens up to reveal more boxes. I guess YoloLiv are big fans of those Russian nesting dolls. Anyway, we open up the first one of these to find the webcam. And first impression is this thing is surprisingly heavy for something so small, which, you know, same. Next, we open up another box to find the magnetic mount for the camera, which also includes a 1/4-inch mounting thread on the bottom. Then we open the larger box to first find a USB-C to USB-A cable, then a USB-A to USB-C converter, a user manual, which I will of course read in its entirety, and finally a little card with a QR code which leads to a site that says your free trial has expired, which is not the best sign right up front. But to be fair, the link from there does redirect you towards a little welcome page which has some useful pointers and a troubleshooting section. And that's it as far as what's in the box. Let's talk specs and features next. I'll put the specs up on the screen so you can see them, but the YoloCam S3 is a webcam capable of shooting up to 4K at 30 frames per second or 1080p at 60 frames per second. It uses a 1/1.28-inch CMOS sensor, which is a pretty big sensor for a webcam, giving it an aperture of f1.85, meaning it lets in a ton of light, resulting in an image that is super crisp by default. It has a field of view of 82 degrees, which I personally think is great for a webcam as it gives you lots of space to frame your subject without showing so much of the surrounding area that it becomes difficult to hide all the clutter. I may be speaking from personal experience here. It connects via a USB-C port on the back, and it's magnetic.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
That means you could theoretically place it in some pretty weird spots as long as you can run a cable there. But more importantly, the mount for it is also magnetic, allowing it to easily snap on and just as easily rotate 90 degrees, meaning you can go from filming horizontal to vertical video in a matter of seconds with barely any hassle or having to take apart and rebuild your whole setup every time. It also has phase detection autofocus, an all-aluminum body that they say guarantees no overheating, AI image tuning, and much more. What it does not have is a microphone, which, look, I don't think most webcams need a microphone anyway, so I'm perfectly fine with the choice to not try to cram that in there to the detriment of the overall quality or price. Just know that if you intend to use this thing for work, you'll still have to rely on either an external mic or the built-in one of your laptop. One last feature that I want to talk about before we get into the webcam app is the color grading app you can also download. Now, this thing promises you a user-friendly experience similar to DaVinci Resolve, and they named it Picasso Resolve, which is one of those things that feels like it should be illegal, but somehow isn't.
This guy knows what I'm talking about.
This app isn't even available on Mac yet, and also I suck at color grading, so I'm not going to talk about it today. Instead, let's dive into the YoloLiv Compose app. Alright, so here we are in the YoloLiv Compose app. First thing you'll see out here on the side is we have two different tabs. We have one called Parameter and one called Scenes. Now, Scenes is just settings that you've saved already. So if we go to Standard, this happens. So then if you see out here, I have one called AJ Tech 1. If I press that, it gives you the settings that I usually use. So if we go back to parameter, you can see there's actually a button up here at the top where you can save the scene. Anyway, under camera adjustment, we have all the different menu options. So video setting is the first. Here we have the orientation, which is either going to be horizontal or vertical. So clicking this button, you can quickly switch between them. Now, obviously you want to rotate your camera when you're doing that, but this makes it very easy to do so. Frame rate right here, you can pick between 25, 30, 50, and 60. I have mine set to 30 because when I film in 4K, that is the maximum that it will allow, but you can actually go to 60 when you're in the app. Next, imaging settings. So first of all, you have a color style, which you can change. Mine is set to B0. We go to V1, it's gonna load, and that didn't really change much, but it is slightly different. And then V2 is gonna be a little cooler. And there you could notice a bit more of a difference, to be honest. I'm gonna set mine back to V0. Now, first of all, we have sharpness. I do add a not insignificant amount of sharpness because I like the way it looks. But basically, if I push this all the way down, it should get slightly blurrier. And if I push it all the way up, it should be slightly sharper. But the difference isn't that big, to be honest. Contrast, however, when I push this around, you can see, well, now you can't see. This is just gonna basically, well, you could also turn it up to this and you get that nice early 2000s social media kind of quality. I like to keep mine at just over medium, so it's slightly more contrasty, but not too much. Saturation is how much color is in your image. I leave this at 50. You can see here, I put this all the way down. Now it is a film noir style, and put it all the way up, and now it looks like a color explosion. Again, I leave mine right in the middle. Next, we have a setting called DR, which I'll be honest, I completely forgot this setting was even here. But you can see if I turn this down, we get more highlights, less shadows. If I turn it up, we get more shadows, less highlights. So I've kept mine at around 70, giving it a slightly darker look. There's also vignetting correction. If I turn this off, wow, that is a humongous difference. So vignetting is darkening all the corners basically, and this sort of corrects for that. Actually, it does it a lot, to be honest. Next, we have focus, and this just changes the type of autofocus you have. I have AFC on, which just autofocuses in this frame here that I've picked. You could switch it to different types. There's AFS, which is a smaller thing. I could also set it to somewhere else, like the background, for example. There's also face, so I could choose this one. And if I do this, it should autofocus on my hand, and then I put it back, autofocus on my face again. And then there's manual focus, where I can actually, well, now you yet again can't see me. And here you can actually sort of crank it in and out. And you see, as you do it, it actually zooms in slightly and zooms out the more you change your manual focus. So if you know you're always sitting in the same position, more or less, you could set this to somewhere where it looks good. I would say somewhere around here. Actually, I look better here because now you can't see me as much. So I'm going to put this back to AFC. Next, we have zoom. Right now, I have it all the way out, but you can zoom in. That is a terrifyingly close zoom. There's also zoom speed, and you see you have some hotkeys and some settings here. You can actually change this, so you can have some pre-defined settings where you press a button and then it zooms into a certain place, basically. Exposure, now here you could either do auto exposure or manual. I have it set to manual at the moment. You can see if I do auto, it's gonna get pretty bright, to be honest. There's also an anti-flicker option, which you can either close, set to 50 hertz or 60 hertz. So if you have a lamp in the background or something that's flickering, you can use the anti-flicker to deal with that. Now this EV setting here is how much I want to adjust the autofocus exposure. But if I go back to manual, you can see I have my ISO and my shutter speed. So ISO, you typically want to get as low as possible, but the lower it goes, let's see, the less noise you have in your image, but the darker the image gets. So you need a lot of light to actually see what's happening. The higher you crank it, well, this is terrible, but the higher you crank it, the brighter it gets, and it's going to generate a lot of noise in your picture. So the lower you can get this, the cleaner an image you're going to have. But of course, it's going to need a lot of light. So if you can make yourself super bright and turn it down to 125 or whatever, that's going to give you a very, very, very clean image. Now, luckily, this webcam has a very large sensor, which is automatically going to let in more light. So you don't need to light yourself as much to get these types of results with a lower ISO. On webcams with a smaller sensor, you're going to need to crank that ISO up higher, which is going to introduce a lot more noise into your image. So this is why this sensor on this webcam is so damn good, because it's a huge sensor. It's going to let in a lot of light, so you can turn down the ISO as much as possible. Now, shutter speed, also, you can change this, and this will also affect the lighting. General rule of thumb is keep the shutter speed at the double value of your FPS, basically. So I'm filming in 30 frames per second. I keep my shutter speed at 1/60. If you're filming at 60 frames per second, keep it at 1/125. And then we have the white balance. Again, I've set mine manually, but you can do auto. And now I'm in the matrix. Whoa. But if you go to manual, you can change the white balance. I have mine to 4650. And you can see here, the lower I go, the bluer it gets. And the higher I go, the more orange it gets. So basically, this around here, I feel like is fairly neutral for my setting. If you want to, film a scene in Mexico in Breaking Bad, this is your setting. Then there's tone. It goes on a scale from purple to green. So if you put it all the way down, you're going to get a more purpley tones. If you put it all the way up, again, you're going to be trapped in the matrix. Blue offset, the lower this goes, the greener it is, and the higher it goes, the bluer it is. And then red offset does the same, but with red tones. And then there's a color wheel down here where you can also kind of mess around with this, and it's going to automatically give you a different number in the blue and red offset. I was pointing at my screen for a second there. You can't see what I'm pointing at on the screen. But basically that's it. Now you do have this AI parameter, which is gonna start the automatic AI tuning. And if I press here, you can see, yeah, it's gonna take a while, and it's asking me to keep myself and the camera as still as possible once the host is in position. But basically, this is going to try to set all the parameters for you. And now I have to pick one that I prefer. I kind of prefer the last one out of these. And then it's going to adjust some more. Basically, the idea is this way, if you don't want to mess with all the settings yourself, this is going to be an opportunity for you to kind of make the adjustments. Not a huge fan of any of these. I still think it ends up being way too bright overall. And if I go into exposure, you can see the ISO is cranked up to 1600 right now. The white balance is actually very close to where I had it before. Obviously the zoom is the same, focus is the same, imaging settings is the same, video settings is the same. So it just changes the exposure and the white balance. It's just overexposed in my opinion. Like, a lot. I don't know why you would want this bright of an image. I do have a slightly dark room, maybe that's why, but honestly, in my opinion, I'd rather put it back down. All right, one last thing I want to show you real quick is if you're on a MacBook, you have this extra display link manager setting, which you can use. And if you go up here, you get these extra filters. Now, what I like to do is I like to put a portrait mode filter on like so, and I keep this dialed way down. If you turn it all the way up, it's going to look like this, but I like to keep it all the way down. It just gives it just a little bit of a smoother background, basically. So it's going to make it look like there's a bit more separation between you and the background. I'm going to turn this off for a second because it's making my computer lag for some reason, because I'm filming the screen, I guess. And then there's the setting called Studio Light, which is going to darken the background and kind of put you in more of a focus. So you can see here, I have it set to not too high. If I turn it down all the way, it's still there. If I turn it all the way up, it's a little too pronounced, in my opinion. So I like to keep it around here. Again, let me turn it off for a second because my computer is struggling today. So one thing you have to note is these two effects do tax your computer just a little bit. I've started to notice lately that my footage is starting to be a little choppy because of these effects. So I might actually stop using them. You can see how good it looks with the portrait effect though. I really think this is a great thing to add to your footage, but only if it doesn't make your computer struggle, because otherwise what's the point? You're just gonna get choppy footage with a nice looking background. Again, this is what it looks like when I have both turned on. It makes the lighting on me a lot more even. It darkens everything. It does give it a kind of purple-ish tint, I'd say. But, you know, you can always fix that, or if you like it, it's cool. I think this looks a lot better than straight out the box. But straight out the box, it still looks really good. But that's just an extra tip that you can use. But back to the regular video. So at the end of the day, the big question is whether or not the YoloCam S3 is worth it. And look, I honestly think this is a no-brainer. Whether you're a streamer, a content creator, or you just want a better webcam for Zoom meetings, if you care about image quality, get this webcam. You can't find another webcam at this price that does what this thing does in terms of video quality. In fact, if you look at this handy chart comparing the S3 to other popular webcams, you'll see it's the only one that gets a 5-star rating from YoloLiv. All right, but marketing aside, I do think it's easily the best webcam you can get at this price point. The only caveat I would add is that if you're in need of a microphone too, there might be one other competitor out there which could be worth it, the Hollyland Lyra. This thing doesn't quite reach the same image quality as the S3, but it does come pretty close, and it also comes in a bundle deal with a wireless lav mic included, all for less money than the S3. So if you want a more comprehensive setup that includes a good mic, you might want to consider that. Otherwise, if you just want the best possible image that $200 can buy, then the YoloCam S3 is definitely worth it. That's it for this video. Leave a like if you made it this far, as it does help out the channel, and let me know in the comments if you want me to take a look at anything else. Subscribe for more honest tech reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.